Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are still in the linear unit. So we'll jump right in. Remember, we have our equation. I know it's getting tiring listening to me say y equals mx plus b over and over. But that's something we need to know for this unit. We have y equals mx plus b. And again, we've been working with tables this past week. So we looked at rise over run, which is change in y over change in x. And we looked at when x equals 0, y equals our y-intercept. So with that, we'll jump right in. We found key features when given a table last week. So remember last week we looked at, we would do, to find slope, we would use rise over run. We used our method of picking a number, like 4, subtracting the number above it, 2 is 2. Doing the same thing over here, picking a number, subtracting number above it, over 1. So we knew our slope was 2 over 1, which reduces to 2. And then we also looked at y-intercept, and that was when x equals 0, y equals our y-intercept. So if you remember, these are pairs straight across. So this would be like -2, 2, -1, 4. We want the one with 0, which in this case is right here. And that was 0, 6. So our y-intercept was 0, 6, or just 6. So that's kind of what we did last week. We had a table, and we had to find our slope and y-intercept. Now this week, we're going to work backwards. I'm going to give you our key features of slope and y-intercept, and we're going to go ahead and make a table. So let's jump right into that practice. There's 4 steps that we're going to be looking at. Step 1 is identify the y-intercept. And if you also see here, it says x is always 0, y is your y-intercept. Add that to the top of the table. So your first step is to find the y-intercept and put it at the top of the table. And again, x is always 0. Here's our information. I give you our y-intercept is 0, 6. We have 0, 6. Remember, this is an xy pair. So we know in our x column we're going to have 0. In our y column we're going to have 6. Step 2. Step 2 says identify the slope. It's going to be a fraction. If it's not a fraction, we're just going to put it over 1 because anything divided by 1 is itself. So writing 2 over 1 equals 2, 5 over 1 equals 5. So if we ever see just a whole number, we know we can go ahead and do the opposite and just put it over 1. In this case, we have a slope of 5 over 2. So our slope is 5 over 2, which you can see here. So we identify our slope. In this case, it's 5 over 2. Our next step 3, says starting with the y-intercept, add and subtract by the y-slope value. So we're going to start with our y-intercept, which was 0, 6, and we're going to add or subtract by the y-slope value. Remember, when we write slope, it's always y over x, which correlates to our value. So in this case, our y value is going to be 5. And since it's a positive 5, we're going to add 5 to our table. So 6 plus 5 would be 11. And we're going to continue adding 5 all the way down our table. To complete our y side. So we're counting by 5. So 6, 11, 16, 21, 26. Now on our x side, we have to look at our bottom number. And in this case, it's 2. It's a positive 2, so we're going to add 2 going down. 2 is 4, 6, 8. And again, sorry, forgot my highlight. That was step 4. Repeat the same process on the x side with the x value slope. So again, step 1, we identified our y-intercept. I'll go ahead and highlight that with our color, and we put that in our table. Step 2, we had to identify our slope, which we did there. It was already a fraction, so we didn't have to put it over 1. Remember, it's y over x. Step 3, we started with our y side, and we added 5 every time because our slope was 5 over 2. Last but not least, step 4, we added 2 on our x side because that was our bottom number. So the goal of today and the goal of this practice is to get to a point where we're filling out a table, creating a table. So what I want you to do is we'll go through one more together, and then on your note sheet you have 3 blank, or I guess 2 more after we do this one together, 2 more tables to fill in. Now I want you to pick any slope you want and any y-intercept you want. So remember, our y-intercept is always going to be 0, comma something. In this case, I'm going to use 12. And our slope, let's do 2 over 3. I'm going to put a negative 2 over 3. So with this example, and you can go ahead and write this one on your note sheet, our slope is negative 2 over 3. Our y-intercept is 0, comma 12. Step 1, like we stated before, was to identify the y-intercept. In this case, it's 0, comma 12, and I'm going to go ahead and put that at the top of my table. So my x value is 0, my y value is 12. Step 2, I'm going to identify the slope. Should be a fraction, but if not, we put it over 1. In this case, we do have a fraction. We have negative 2 over 3. Step 3, starting with the y-intercept, add or subtract by the y-slope. Again, remember we have y over x, and in this case, we have a negative 2 and a positive 3. So on our y side, since that's the top, we are going to subtract 2 every time. Go ahead and write minus 2 down here. And I'm going to go ahead and take 12 minus 2 is 10, minus 2 is 8, 6, and 4. And then for my my x side, sorry, that was my y side. For my x side, if you notice, we have a positive 3. So I'm still going to go ahead and add 3 to this side. So even though we have a negative up there, our 3 remains positive, so we'll count positive. So we have 0 plus 3 is 3, plus 3 is 6, 9, and 12. So pretty straightforward. Again, step 1, you identify your y-intercept. Step 2, you identify the slope. If it's not a fraction, make it a fraction. Step 3, we subtracted 2 because our slope is minus 2 for our y side. And step 4, we had to repeat the same process. In this case, it was positive 3, so we added 3 down our x side. So those are the 2 examples. Pretty quick lesson today. I want you to go ahead and you should have 2 more blank tables. You should have basically what I've highlighted on your paper. You have 2 of those. Again, you can pick any slope and any y-intercept to start from, and then I just want you to practice filling out those tables. Do 2 of them, and then you'll go ahead and submit that note sheet. I'll look over, make sure we're adding our slope right and starting with our y-intercept, and then we'll have some more practice tomorrow. Like always, please email me, call me on Teams, or use Canvas to get a hold of me if you have any questions or comments, and we'll go from there.